This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 70. We are back once again, and it's another twofer for the people. 2 interviews today on episode 70 of the Brew Party Podcast. I'm Andy Hopper, your host that definitely doesn't know the most. That's why we got to bring on guests on this podcast to teach me some shit. So, like I said, this is the Brew Party. We are back. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or if that's too many words, just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It's got all of our episodes. It's got links to all of our social media. It's got links to support the show. It's got links to our YouTube. Speaking of our YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us there now. We are youtube.com/thebrewparty. Help us build up that subscriber base. Make sure you leave a like on our most recent video as well. So you can go ahead and follow us on social media. We are at The Brew Party on Twitter and Instagram. We're also at The Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. If you're interested in supporting the show in any way, go to buymeacoffee.com/The Brew Party, and you can support us, donate $5, and we will have a little something special for you on the next episode. You can also buy merch if you're interested. The first batch of the Brew Party merch should be at your door by this week at some point. It is on the way. It should be here very soon. Just go to our Twitter at the Brew Party, and it is our pinned tweet to find hoodies, t-shirts, baseball tees, crew necks, anything. Not anything, but we got a lot of different options for brand new Brew Party merch. Make sure you check that out if you're interested in supporting the show. So before I tell you about what we're going to get into on today's episode of the Brew Party Podcast, let me plug a couple guest appearances I was able to do this week. So with all the craziness of free agency and the Chicago Bulls moves, I was able to join the Alec Walt Show to talk about the Bulls free agency, how Lonzo Ball, Demar Derozan, and Alex Caruso are going to fit onto this team with Zach Lavine and Vucevic. So go check that out on YouTube. That's youtube.com/downtheblocksports, and you'll be able to find my appearance on the Alec Walt Show. I also had the privilege of joining Intercept Your Lunch with Marty Jones, and that was a great time. We previewed the NFC North. I gave my predictions for the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. You aren't going to want to miss that. That is wherever you get your podcasts. It's on YouTube. Just search Intercept Your Lunch. Awesome stuff. Want to thank Alec and Marty both for having me on the show. Always love doing guest appearances and being able to talk sports. So let's tell you a little bit about what you're going to hear in this episode 70. So first, we have another college athlete, ladies and gentlemen, from New Mexico Highlands University. It is Ronnie Jamison. Ronnie joins the party to talk about his football career and how he ended up at New Mexico Highlands. It's another NMHU wide receiver joining the show. So Ronnie is a former 4-star recruit from Irmo, South Carolina, originally committed to the University of South Carolina before having a couple things happen. He will tell you what happened before he ended up at Division II New Mexico Highlands. So awesome story. We talk about his JUCO football career, his high school football career, his recruiting process with major Division I programs, and more. After that, we're seeing red, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome on the host of Cash Considerations, a Chicago Bulls podcast. He's a contributor for Forbes. He's a contributor for Blog a Bull. He's a contributor for the Clutch Points app. It's Bulls J. It's Jason Patt, joins the Brew Party podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Bulls_J. A lot of Bulls knowledge joined us from Chicago to break down the Bulls free agency moves so far. Originally, I wanted to get him on to talk about the Bulls drafting Ayo Dosunmu, but so much has happened since then. We broke it all down. He gives us a draft grade. He tells us if he likes or dislikes the deals. DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, how they're all going to fit. Awesome interview with Jason, and a great interview with Ronnie as well. Little twofer for the people. Excited for everybody to get into us. Just want to say thank you, as always, for supporting the show, for tuning in, for joining the party. You know, we love to have a good time, try not to take ourselves too seriously, and I think episode 70 is another one of those episodes. We do have this brand new equipment, this brand new XLR mic that I'm so excited to be using, so bear with me. I'm still figuring out the right settings for it. There might be a few pops and clicks that you hear. trying to figure out how to get rid of those. I have another pop filter on the way. I know I have this windscreen on here right now, but we're going to figure it out. We're going to do it big. This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 70. I'm Andy Hopper. Let's get you into these interviews. First, with New Mexico Highlands wide receiver Ronnie Jamison, followed by Jason Patt. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again. This is the Brew Party Podcast. Episode number 70 is here, and I'm joined by another very special guest, another wide receiver from New Mexico Highlands University. This time it is Ronnie Jamison joining the party, talking about his football career. We are talking football, college football with Ronnie Jamison. So, Ronnie, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I was so excited when you reached out to us after we talked to PD because that was a great episode. PD's such a great guy, and excited to talk to another Cowboy, have another Cowboy on the program. So you are also from the Carolina area, but you're from South Carolina, around Columbia. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, down there. I went to Irmo High School. It's like a town that's kind of like close to Columbia. It's like 10 to 15 minutes from around like the downtown area where like South Carolina, like the university is, but kind of like a little suburb around there.
So as a kid, you grew up a big USC fan?
Yes, sir. Diehard. I was a Gamecock fan. You know, we don't have like really many major sports teams in South Carolina, so it's either South Carolina or Clemson, and I kind of grew up right there, so it was always USC.
Absolutely. So going to your high school days, you played at Irmo High School. I read that you were a pretty versatile player. You played quarterback, running back, wide receiver. What was that like? What was your high school experience like playing in Irmo?
Honestly, it was pretty fun. I played running back going like my whole career. I always played running back going up until my senior year. Well, my junior year kind of I started playing like a little wildcat here and there, and then my senior year, I started off at quarterback, and it was going pretty well. Like, you know, in the summertime, like 7-on-7, like I say, like quarterback is not as easy as people think it is. Like it was real easy in 7-on-7, and then we our first game it went pretty well, and I ended up getting a high ankle sprain, so that's when I just started playing more running back and receiver again. Once I like got back from my injury, and I just carried that on.
So what was your what was your recruiting process kind of like in high school? Because I know you ended up at Highland Community College in Kansas. Did you have any other offers coming out of high school, or was that tougher being that you played, you know, kind of three different positions?
Well, I was kind of getting recruited as an athlete, so it really wasn't that tough. I was it really was like a great situation when I was coming out of high school. Like I was talking to Clemson and Louisville. Louisville was kind of one of the schools that was bigger. I was going to go to Louisville, but it came down to like some test scores and stuff that I didn't end up getting. So that's why I decided to just take the junior college route. And I was actually a partial qualifier when I left high school. So I just felt like it would be I'd rather just do that versus, you know, going in and redshirt in the first year or having to go to a smaller level.
Right. So when you get to Highland in Kansas, so you played 2 years, pretty much exclusively at wide receiver and then on special teams, right?
Yes, sir.
So what was that like for you, being that first full year of playing that one position and one real, you know, thing you could focus on? You know, did that make you feel a little bit better? I guess feel a little bit better isn't the right thing, but were you excited that you got to just focus on being a receiver and you didn't have to worry about, you know, taking handoffs or taking snaps under center?
Yeah, it was a little more relieving. I could actually, because I felt like it was like a time where I could actually start to hone in and just get really good at one thing, because like, you know, when you're doing a lot of different things, you can't necessarily like just try to perfect one thing, because you know you're doing a lot of different things at practice each day. But when I got there and I was only playing receiver, they actually recruited me there to play running back. And when I got there, it was funny, like our first team meeting, we went in and the meeting was over, and I walked up to our head coach and we was talking. He was just like, you're a little taller than we thought we were gonna try you at receiver. And I went out and I started playing receiver, and I kind of like, that was just it ever since then. And it was fun though. Like I like playing receiver because I feel like it's a little bit more natural, and I can, now that this is the only position I'm playing, I can actually practice and just work on like the smaller stuff with my craft.
Was it tough for you to make that transition at first, like mentally? Because I'm sure you're not used to lining up out wide, maybe not used to those routes. Like how tough was that transition at first, going from running back to wide receiver?
It was a little. It was well, at first I'll say at first it wasn't as difficult because like I always kind of like did like a little split back like in the slot, like I would do a little receiver and stuff, like especially like when I was younger, like my freshman and sophomore year in high school, like when I would play up, we had real good running backs, so I would like just try to get in where I could, and I just play like a little slot and stuff like that sometimes. And so it wasn't as hard when I would do that, but like when I got to the collegiate level and I was outside, like I play outside now, I'm a Z, so I had to like kind of get used to being far away from the ball and still being engaged every play and stuff like that when you're not touching the ball or being around the play every time.
Right. So when you get to that JUCO level, you also started doing kick returns, and that's something I'm super curious about because I don't think I've talked to anybody that's really done kick returns. And you actually scored a touchdown on a kick return. So I have to know, what is that like? So what's going through your mind? How soon in that return do you know you're like housing that bitch?
Honestly, I like playing special teams in high school. I'm gonna tell you, like in high school, they wouldn't let me play special teams because they just didn't. They just felt like it would be too much. I didn't want. They didn't want to, like, and I understood. So, but when that was actually my first game on kick return too, because I was running back at my junior college. He actually led the whole nation in like rushing yards and stuff. So he was good. And but they didn't want to risk getting him hurt at the time, so they put me back there. And I didn't, honestly, when they kicked the ball, I remember my up man, he was supposed to catch it, but he let the ball bounce, and I just ran and picked it up, and I just started running up the middle. And like when I started running outside, I kind of figured like I think I'm about to score now because I don't know. It was cool though. It was a cool time.
What's the key to being a good returner?
Honestly, it's getting north as quick as possible, in my opinion, because a lot of people feel like to play kick return, you got to be like quick and shifty or just real fast. But I mean, honestly, if you got a pretty good top speed and you know how to make one cut and go, because really it's lanes. Everybody flying at you full speed. So if you're not willing to knife it up in there and try to go, then it's no point. It's no point really.
You did a couple punt returns too, right?
Yeah, I did. I did some punt
Do you
returns.
like doing those? Or because I always feel like, from a fan's perspective, like that is one of the most terrifying things on the fucking football field, is trying to focus on the ball while you have pretty much fucking like 20 people just running at you. What's that like?
Honestly, punt return I'll just say this is not really my thing, but it was kind of fun because like at my junior college when we would do it, we kind of had like two guys. We had a bounce back that came from Clemson. We called him Ocho. He played punt return a lot, but he like sometimes he'd be like, man, go return to somebody, like one of y'all can go do it. So like one game, I just remember me and him was just switching back and forth, and we was playing Hutchinson Community College actually up in Kansas, and I almost ran the punt back too, but I stepped out of bounds. I remember I stepped out of bounds at the end, like towards the end.
How hard is it to, like tightrope the sideline, especially when you have all your momentum, dude? Like that, I can't believe guys can pull that off sometimes.
Honestly, I feel like that's where they say like some guys like in the NFL, I see they say they take ballet and stuff. I feel like that's where it comes in because like my balance is something that I know I'm working on right now. Like that's something I've been like keying in on, and I don't know. Like I feel like if I had some tightrope skills, then I probably would have ran that punt back because I lived like it was one of those situations, and I just stepped out.
So, what are some of your more memorable moments playing at Hutch? I know I was looking over some highlights and doing some research. I saw 7 receptions for 117 yards, 2 TDs at Iowa Central. You guys just blowing the doors off them. Do you have any like really memorable moments or memorable games from your time there?
I would definitely say that that kick return was probably one because it was a school record, and And at the time, we were playing Coffeyville, and they were ranked number 9, and we were ranked number 19. So I feel like that was a pretty memorable time. They actually got a poster of that up down like by the weight room at Highland.
That's awesome. So you mentioned Coffeyville, some other programs. JUCO ball in Kansas is high level football. What was that like for you? First, I'll ask you how hard was the transition coming from high school ball in South Carolina now playing at this level? Like you said, you had bounce backs from Clemson. I'm sure there were former D1 guys all across the league.
Yeah, I definitely say it was honestly, I just felt like it was like a kind of like a all-star show like every weekend because friends like are you pretty familiar with the show Last Chance U?
Yes, I have some questions about that. Did you play you played against Indy, I'm sure.
Yeah, we did, and it's kind of like people who've seen that, like you see like how many guys they get come in, and it's really like that with a lot of schools out there. So I know like coming in like as a freshman, I remember like my first game like as a freshman, I was starting and we played Dyer City, and at the time they had the number 1 linebacker in the country, and then they had another guy. They both in the NFL right now. But the other, I can't remember the other guy's name. He ended up going to Utah, but he was better. He was better than the guy that they had like ranked over him. Like they both ended up going to the NFL. And I just remember playing that first game, and I just remember like the game was just way faster. And it's not nothing like I'm not used to, like, or anybody wouldn't be used to playing football. It's just kind of like you gotta think fast and trust yourself. Like that's really all it is. Just trust what you be doing and what you practice.
So was that dumbass Jason Brown the head coach when you played against them or no?
Yeah, he was actually.
Oh my God! What? Please, do you have anything? What was it like to play against him?
Honestly, I didn't really have like too many encounters with him like while playing, but I can tell you this much. We played on, it was supposed to be on a Saturday, but when they came over, like it was a home game first. They came over and it ended up raining out like real bad. Like so basically like the whole like camera crew, like they came out, they had to like pack everything up and they took everything into our gym. And their team went in there as well. And he was like talking to them. And one of their coaches, like their defensive back coach, he was actually my coach in high school. So I was kind of in there at the time, like talking to him while he was like addressing his team. And I just say he just don't act like that for the cameras. Like he really is pretty.
You fucking slap dicks.
He really talk like that.
He's got that slap dick whiskey now. But I just remember watching that, and it's like the first game was like, yeah, I'm not even gonna watch any film. We're gonna fucking kick this team's ass. And they lost like 70-6 or something like that. But that's so cool that you were there. You played against them when they were filming that. So you started gaining some traction yourself during your JUCO career, your ESPN 4-star recruit. What was that recruiting process like? How much was it different from high school? Were there still the same type of schools like coming back around after the first year of JUCO, or just when did that all start?
Yeah, it was. I'll definitely say it was a little different. It was a little more. I'll just say that it was a little more because it was like I was at a junior college and I was making myself eligible now, and that's kind of like the situation with every guy you come in and recruit there. So like a lot of teams were just pulling the trigger fast. Like I was just kind of getting offers a little bit faster than I did in high school, and like it was honestly it was pretty cool. But I kind of like I didn't really like get too caught up into the recruiting part because I kind of already knew like I was gonna go to USC once I got the chance to get that offer. But it was a good time, and honestly like if I could do it again, I probably would just do it the same way. But I don't know if I'd be so locked in on just going one place now that I just going through some different things in life.
Right. So did you take multiple visits, or like was it once South Carolina offered, it was like, yeah, I'm done?
Actually, yeah, it was kind of like when South Carolina offered me, I was done because like that, everybody knew me like growing up, like they kind of knew like Ronnie, he's gonna go to South Carolina, and I told actually Coach Muschamp when he was offering me like like they kind of get into like the whole, the pitch, and they want to like, sell you on a few things and whatnot. And I kind of just told him, I was like, Coach, you ain't even got to do that. Like I said, you probably gonna hear from me in like 2 days. And he just started laughing. And like I kind of basically committed like when he offered, but I just waited like 2 days before I like put it out there to everybody else.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's just different when your hometown school is like, hey, we want you to come play for us. So can you just speak for a little bit? Like, what did that mean to you, like to get that offer? I know you said he didn't have to sell you at all, but it's just like as a little kid, I'm sure you dreamed of that all your life. I'm sure that was just one of the coolest moments ever.
It was. It was honestly kind of everything I thought it would be, but like I feel like, at the time, like me, like myself at the time, I feel like if I would have, been more about my business and handled it a different way, I feel like I would have been able to enjoy it more. But I feel like it was everything I wanted to like. My family, like they were all excited, and my friends and stuff, and it was a good time. I feel like it was just, it wasn't like the time like for myself. Like I wasn't there in the moment, like I should have.
So can you like explain that a little bit? What kind of happened?
Well, actually, what happened was like so when I came out of high school, like I was telling you, I was a partial qualifier, and so I went in my my freshman year, I ended up getting about 10 offers, and South Carolina was one of them. Like in the summertime, and the thing was with me is I didn't like when I first got to junior college, I wasn't like I really wasn't aware a lot of my business. Like I didn't even realize I was a partial qualifier. Like, hey, if I come in and take like these certain classes, I can graduate after my first year and just leave. And so I kind of just came in and I wasn't as focused. I ended up getting behind in the class, and so my next year, I kind of ended up just getting behind in the class, and then I had like stuff going wrong with my financial aid, and I just honestly like when I got to that point, like after my sophomore year, and I kind of just was like, whatever. I just felt like I don't even like want to play, but I wasn't like saying it out loud like to everybody else. Like I don't really care, like because I'm never like that type of person. I just like my demeanor with a lot of stuff. Like now that I think back on like how I was acting with like a lot of stuff, I kind of like just started to not care about it much anymore.
Yeah, I mean it happens, especially being in college, being at that young age. Like we're like you're learning how to be an adult. You're learning all this shit new about yourself. And especially if you're a high level athlete such as yourself, trying to manage all that stuff, dude, I can't even imagine the stress and everything you're under. So it was just kind of a case you didn't really handle your business. So you're not able to enroll at South Carolina. At that point, are you thinking your football career is over?
Honestly, like I'll just be honest with you. Like I wasn't necessarily thinking like it was over, because like I feel like a main problem as to why I got myself into that situation was like it just when it like I was pretty good at football, so it always just seemed to work itself out. Like it'll always come back around, and but this time it didn't. So like after I was sitting out for like a year, because I was out of school for about 2 years, and when I was sitting out for like the first year, I kind of was just like, well, like I'm still like schools are still contacting me and trying to like get me back in school, and I'm just like, it's not working out. So then like after like some more time goes by, I kind of just like I'm just like, yeah, I'm probably like not gonna play no more. And I just honestly like that's when I moved to Houston. Actually, I moved to Houston. I started personal training. I was a personal trainer down there, and the pandemic hit, and they called.
So what is that mentally like? Is playing? I mean, I'm sure you played the sport for years and years, almost all your life, a sport you love. What's it like to just kind of fall out of love with it like that?
It was weird. Like it was a weird feeling, because like I didn't realize like my whole life, like I had like everything I kind of had, or like I was always around, or always really put myself into, was based off of sports, and a lot of stuff I got was because sports and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I missed the game definitely because like I'm a big sports guy, so I'm not gonna act like I just like I just stopped watching. Like I was still watching and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I was missing it, but it just after a while I just started to realize like that's like it's something like I'm supposed to be doing because it was hard for me to like try to figure out something different like to do and like just be completely like locked in on it the same way I was with football until
Mm-hmm.
like it came back and I started to just kind of realize a little bit more like what was missing, you know?
Right. Were you able to like keep yourself in shape pretty well? Or are you like a workout guy?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
It's kind of funny because like my friends like they would joke about it and be like it was kind of just like God putting you in timeout because it wasn't like you can't go back and play football because you still been working out. Like I always would play basketball and it was just weird. Like the last 6 months, like right before I got back into school, that's when I started like personal training. So I was working out like every day and just playing basketball, like not knowing I'm about to go back and play football. It's kind of like God working in a funny way, I would think. So I kind of did kind of like stay in shape when it came to when I wasn't playing. Just I don't know, subconsciously, I guess.
How's your hoop game?
I'm all right. I'm pretty good. No, I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm gonna just say this. I can't dribble all that well. Like my dribble rate will probably be like 75 on 2K, but I can dunk. Like I just like to dunk. That's really what
That's all that matters, dude. If you can throw it down, like whatever. You throw it down in a pickup game, you might get a couple side looks, especially from a fat white dude like me. Like, look at this hardo. But no, no, I'm fucking with you, man. That's funny though. So your personal training in Houston, the pandemic hits. How do you find your way to Las Vegas, New Mexico to play for the Cowboys?
um, Coach Lowe, Coach Armani Leonardo. He's a good one. I was actually like really what happened. I was talking to Charlton State last year, and he was coaching there on the staff, and it didn't end up working out. Like I wasn't able to end up going there, and I just remember like he called me when I was well, it wasn't actually him. It was the coach at Charlton State, Coach Tate. He called me and was just like, you still interested in playing football? And he was like, I got a buddy, he's going to another school and stuff like that. So he had him reach out to me, and the next day he just honestly just told me, you stay in contact with me and we will get everything worked out. And so we just took all the necessary steps after that because they're kind of like the first school to really just want to actually work out all the kinks.
Mm-hmm. That has
So
to be a great feeling for you.
yeah, it was because I really wasn't even thinking about it. Honestly, it just came out of the blue. Like it was a blessing. Honestly.
So what was it like for you transitioning back into football, being back into a high level, workout program, learning routes again, learning a brand new offense.
Right. Yeah. It was. Honestly, it was a little. It wasn't as difficult when I come to say learning the new offense and stuff like that because um I kind of like learn plays pretty easily. Honestly, like so I kind
High football IQ is what we call that, buddy.
yeah, I guess I'll say I got some IQ a little bit. So I kind of picked up on the plays and stuff pretty well, but like coming here, like we kind of like up in mountains and stuff. So like the elevation, like man, it was different. So I had to just kind of like work a little bit harder than I thought I would have to like when it came to just producing that practice like for a full 2 hours, just being up in like higher elevation and staying locked in and stuff. It was a fun process. I'll just say that. It was a fun process.
How difficult is that working out in high elevation? So I'm in the middle of Illinois, so we're just like flat city, baby. What is that like, dude? Like, especially I'm not super familiar with South Carolina. Is it super hilly and stuff there like that?
No, it's not actually. Like in South Carolina, I'm at like 600 feet like elevation, and here it's like 6,000 or something. So it's way different. Like South Carolina is almost like a rainforest. So like it's like a lot of humidity and like a lot of trees and stuff. I kind of like you sweat a lot, but like here it's like a lot of dry air, and it's just
Oof.
like I'll be outside playing for like I feel like an hour and a half, and I won't sweat as much as I feel like I should have, and it's just a little different. So I got to make sure I'm hydrating and stuff like that.
Right. So what are some of your favorite routes to run? I know you're playing out on the Z now. I watched one of your highlight tapes. You have a very quick first step, my friend. Do you like just blowing by people, or do you like putting the moves on them, going across the middle a little bit?
Honestly, I kind of like playing outside. Like when I was in junior college, I kind of played a little slot more, so I kind of like just putting moves on people a little bit here and there. But like being outside, I kind of like blowing by, and I'm a jump ball kind of guy. I like jump ball. I like go routes and posts and stuff like that, kind of like deeper routes. But I'm working on my in between game because I'm trying to show them I can catch it and go to the house as well.
You can do it. You can do it all. So do you still? I think I saw something. You ran like a 4.47 40. Is you still run that?
Yeah, I can still run a 4.4. I don't know what it is exactly, but last time I ran the actually like when I got here last year, we timed them, and I think I ran about a 4.4. Well, like a 4.46, actually, like 4.46, 4.7. It was around the same.
So this is a really dumb question, but just how fun is it to be fast?
I'm kind of fast. Like I don't know. It's
you ran a 4.46. You're fast. You're fast.
It's not fun because they expect you to run fast all the time. So I'm just saying it's not fun.
There you go. You can't take any time off. No plays off.
Right.
So can you kind of tell me a little bit about what last year was like for the team? So was there even a season at all?
No, we didn't have a season. It was honestly, it was a little weird. Like I would say that because for me personally, I was just getting back into playing like completely, like it was my first year back, and then we didn't have a season, but we kind of treated it like spring ball. Like the fall, we kind of like treated it like spring ball, and we practiced, and we kind of like our coaches. We had Coach Kirkman. He's a real good coach. He made it fun on us, and he took care of us and stuff. So he made it competitive, so we can kind of like it wouldn't be the same as like having a real season, but we got it going, and we practiced a lot during the fall and kind of treated like spring, and then after that we just kind of like rolled over, kind of like we would going into like a new season in the spring. We actually had spring ball and etc.
Was it hard for you guys as a team to stay mentally locked in, knowing that you're not playing a full season? You're getting games here and there, but it's not what you're used to, a full slate.
Yeah, it was a little different for our team, I'd say, because like a lot of the guys, we didn't have much team chemistry, so like a lot of the guys didn't know each other that well, so we were kind of like trying to do a lot of that, and like after a while, like you just kind of banging on the same guys, so like after a while, guys started to get injured a little bit, like nicks and bruises, and some like some people just start to like lose a little focus because it's like we're not about to have a season like which like seems like anytime soon, but it is like real soon in like the football like because it's like the next like season's over, you'll be playing pretty soon. But like you think about it, like for us, we're in school, like we got a whole school year, and then we got to come back and go through the summer. So just we'll lose a little focus sometimes, but like we did a good job of keeping everybody pretty focused, and we ended up actually having one game in the spring, so everybody look forward to that while we were practicing towards the end.
Didn't you hang like 62 points in that game? Is that the one I was talking about, or no?
Yeah. We did. We it was a pretty high scoring game for us. We put up 62. Yeah.
Is that the worst you've ever beat anybody?
Yeah, and football, yeah, actually, yes, it is. And football, and basketball, I know we beat my high school team was pretty good, but football, yeah, that was the worst. Like they had 26. It was 62-26, but I feel like they probably should only had like 7. It just a few bus plays like towards the end, so it was probably one of the worst ones I was a part of.
Yeah. So when you're playing in a game like that, like how soon do you start talking shit to the DBs? Like, hey, we are beating your fucking ass right now.
Honestly, I really don't. I'm like the type of guy, like when I'm playing sports, I don't really get into like trash talking until like you say one thing. Like, but if you they were kind of like, I don't know, it was just one of those games where they kind of like knew like they were like losing. So, but I don't know, like this one play, this dude, like he pulled me down and he did something, and I just got up and I was mad. Like I got pissed, and he was just like, and I just thought about it. I was like, we beating them, and it's like it's no reason to do all of that.
That's funny, man. Because I remember when I talked to Petey a couple weeks ago, I asked him what he thought when the DBs go, no way, but it's like a fucking overthrown pass by like 5 yards. How much does that piss you off?
Honestly, it like that. Those are like kind of like the small things that like make me mad. Cause I'm like why you celebrate? Like you didn't make that play. So it doesn't make me mad. It's just like I'm like I don't know. Like I like to dominate my matchup. So when I see them like making it seem like I don't know. It's just a little weird sometimes when I see DBs doing it. I don't really get into that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So before we wrap this up, I just got a couple more questions for you, dude. This has been so much fun. So how much eligibility do you have left? Is this 2 years, 1 year?
I'm actually a senior in the classroom, but I'm a junior on the field, so I have 2 years to play. So I'll probably end up possibly grad transferring after this year. Me and my coach were talking about it a little bit, but I'm not really too sure about what I'll do with that afterwards. But I do have 2 seasons to play though.
Absolutely, dude. So what are your goals, expectations for this year? I'm sure you're coming in with the chip on your shoulder, ready to play.
Honestly, I just want to win like as a team because I know like me personally, I feel like I won like a lot of like accolades and like stuff like that like myself, but I never really won like a championship when it came to football, like except Pop Warner. So like I really just want to win and just kind of like give people like something like get excited about and just show them that it's not going to be the same team they had around last year.
Absolutely, dude. Well, I'm so ready for football season. I have got to figure out how to watch New Mexico Highlands games because you guys got a fan in the middle of Illinois right here. So really looking forward to that, man.
A link on Instagram or something.
Yes, absolutely. I would love for you to do that, and I can make sure to share it with everybody. Speaking of Instagram, if you want to plug yourself on Instagram or Twitter, people can follow you. You can go ahead and do that now, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here, bro.
Okay, yeah, y'all can follow me on Instagram at Rondo. 2 N's, 2 D's, 2 O's.
Love it, dude. So Ronnie Jamison from New Mexico Highlands University. This has been awesome. Episode 70 of the Brew Party podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or www.thebrewparty.com. You can watch all of our episodes if you like on YouTube, youtube.com/The Brew Party. Follow us on Twitter at The Brew Party. We're also on Instagram at The Brew Party. And then we are on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast. Thanks again to Ronnie Jamison from New Mexico Highlands University, all the way out in Las Vegas, New Mexico. But love it. Awesome football stuff. Awesome episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Whenever it is, I just thank you for being here. We are back once again on the Brew Party podcast with another very special guest. We now welcome on, we're going to do a little bit of seeing red here from the Clutch Points app, Forbes, Bulls blogger, co-host of Cash Considerations. It's Jason Patt at Bulls J on Twitter. Joins the Brew Party podcast for episode number 70. We are talking about the huge moves that the Chicago Bulls just made, putting themselves in the position to contend for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference next year. So, Jason, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. It's been a couple crazy days. Always love talking about this stuff, especially when it's like exciting stuff for the Bulls and not just complaining about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So what has the last 3 days been like for you as far as covering the Bulls wise and just all the craziness, getting all the stories out?
Yeah, just been obviously super busy. The Bulls, right from the start of free agency, obviously like that right when free agency started, the Lonzo Ball thing happened basically right away. So just excitement from the very start. Then a couple hours later, Alex Caruso signing, which was kind of out of nowhere. Like obviously the Lonzo Ball stuff had been rumored for a while. Kind of was expecting it. Seemed like it was going to happen pretty much right away, and it did. The Caruso stuff kind of out of nowhere. It really wasn't rumored. So that was kind of exciting. And then the DeMar DeRozan stuff today that happened also had been kind of rumored yesterday. It was kind of out there. It's like, oh, are they really going to pull this off? Wasn't sure. And then right in the middle of today, they do pull it off. In a big move. So, I mean, over the last couple of days, for sure, I mean, just a lot of stuff going on with the Bulls. They've kind of overhauled this roster here a lot. They started that at the deadline with the Vucevic trade, the other trade that they made. Now they make these big moves here to overhaul the roster some more. And it's kind of exciting stuff. And, yeah, just been a lot busy, a lot of podcast stuff, articles all over Twitter. Always fun hearing from other fans. I feel like a lot of the fan base is excited. I know there's some people have some qualms as well with what they've done. I did as well. Just like, obviously there's no guarantees here, but I mean the team, the roster, talent wise is a lot better than it was the last few years, and it's time to go win some games now. There's been a lot of losses the last couple of years, so it's time to go win some games.
Right. So let's talk about the good stuff. What you like first. What move so far in free agency have you thought was the best move the Bulls have made? Yeah,
I mean, the Lonzo thing was good. Get him right away from the start. The fit made sense. I mean, they've been trying to get Lonzo since like before the trade deadline. Weren't able to pull it off then, but they pull it off now, and without giving up all that much, without using their cap space, they obviously had to give up a little to do the sign and trade and all that stuff. But giving up Satoransky, Garrett Temple, second round pick. Really, it's not a big deal. The contract makes sense. 4 years, $85 million. Makes a lot of sense for Lonzo to come in there, be a starting guard next to Zach Lavine. Just coming off the best year of his career. He's 23 years old. He can shoot. He's really revamped his jumper really nicely. Almost 38% from three and pretty high volume. Remember when Lonzo came to the league, he really couldn't shoot at all, and it was pretty ugly. But he's really gotten a lot better with that now. Defense potential. Passing, obviously, he came into the league as known as like a playmaking wizard. He has his faults in half-court offense. He really doesn't really create much off the dribble for himself in the half-court. He doesn't really drive to the basket much, but still an excellent passer in transition. Very much looking forward to those long lobs he would throw to Zion Williamson. Now those are going to be going to Zach Lavine. Hopefully we see a bunch of those. So he becomes the best passer on the team. So the Lonzo thing made a ton of sense. But even past that, I mean, the Caruso one is really nice. I mean, I know Caruso became kind of like a cult hero of sorts with the Lakers fans, and I know he doesn't look like much. He looks goofy with his headband out there and kind of a hustle guy. And a lot of people, easy to make fun of the hustle guys that just kind of run around, don't seem like super talented. But Caruso is a legit elite defender, great perimeter defender. You look at some of the advanced stats and like smart Lakers fans that I follow, swear by his defense. For one of the Lakers games I watch, you can see, I mean, he's a great perimeter defender. I remember watching Bulls games against the Lakers last year, and Zach Lavine had problems going against Caruso. He gets up in your face. He's really physical, doesn't back down. He's pretty strong, decent size at 6'4", 6'5". So getting Caruso on basically like a mid-level deal, 4 years with $37 million. Nice, great role player, helps your point of attack defense. When Zach Lavine's your best player, not the best defensive player, to get a guy who can play elite defense like that, throw him out there next to Zach. When you have Lonzo as well, who's a solid defensive player, that should really help. So yeah, and then DeRozan stuff. Obviously, I know there's some bad stuff with the DeRozan deal. We can basically maybe get into that a little more in a few minutes here, but the DeRozan is an interesting player. He's very good. There are some downsides to it. I do think the contract is pretty big, maybe a little bigger than you would have expected. They gave up a first-round pick for him, so I understand. I've seen some criticism of this deal from some national writers, but so that one not as much. Especially in a vacuum. I understand why some people. My initial reaction to it was kind of really? That's what they gave him all that. They gave up for him, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're putting it all together, the Bulls are obviously trying to win now, and they made a big swing to win now. So I think the Lonzo and Caruso, I think were definite, just really as a tandem, solid deals day one. DeRozan, I understand the qualms, but I think you put it all together, and they just overhauled the roster. And you make all these moves to go win games again, and that's what they're trying to do right now. Is they haven't done that in a long time.
It is just a good feeling. I think I don't know if you tweeted it or I saw or you retweeted it or something, but it was last year the Bulls' only free agent move was Garrett Temple,
Yep.
and then now we're already at this point. So the Caruso one definitely threw me off yesterday. I did not see that coming at all. How do you see him fitting in coming off the bench, especially with Kobe White still on the roster?
Yeah. Kobe is he's gonna miss probably the start of the year here. We'll see what happens, how long he's out. We'll see when he comes back. We'll see how good he is when he comes back. That'll definitely be something that's interesting to watch. In terms of like when they are all healthy, I mean, Caruso can play either guard position. He's obviously, again, he's pretty big. So like Kobe, I think they'll still probably look at him as the sixth man gunner type off the bench, because obviously right now your starting lineup, you got Lonzo, Lavine, DeRozan, and you got Kobe maybe as your first guy off the bench. Caruso basically was like a 20-minute per game guy with the Lakers. I feel like he'll probably be somewhere around that again as just your defensive ace off the bench. It'll give Billy Donovan options to mix and match lineups. They can play smaller lineups and like use 3-guard lineups with Caruso, with Kobe, with Lonzo, with Zach, all these guys. We'll see how Ayo Dosunmu fits into this, if he gets any minutes on there. I don't know if he'll get any right away as a second-round rookie, right. But when they got these other guys in front of him and they're trying to win games. But it'll be interesting to see how they do that. I mean, maybe they look to trade Kobe. I don't know. Like, I'm not totally sure how the front office feels about him. But since they have made all these additions in the backcourt, I think you do have to wonder where they see Kobe fitting in. I think he still could fit in. I mean, when he's healthy and when he's going hot, like that bench scoring, if that's what his role is probably going to be as a bench scorer who can really get up a lot of 3-pointers and gun and hit shots like that, it can be pretty good. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I would assume that he's going to miss the start of the season. Just that labrum thing is like 4 to 6 months. Even like the front end of that 4 months, like puts him like right before the start of the season. So it will be interesting to see how Billy divvies up those minutes.
Yeah, that is very interesting. So let's talk about DeRozan for a second, because I know you said there were some qualms about the deal. So they do give up quite a bit. It ends up being Thad Young, Al-Farouq Aminu, a first-round pick, and 2 seconds, plus what, $85 million for him as well.
3 years, $85 million, pretty big deal. Definitely bigger than I was expecting him to get.
Yeah. So I mean, what did you think about that deal? Because do you think they overpaid for him? Do you think it was about right? I guess it's way too early to do winners or losers of this, so we don't want to get into that. But just kind of your initial thoughts about the Bulls being able to acquire DeMar DeRozan, and then I'll put this in without sending Lauri Markkanen to the Spurs, who appeared to be like the main piece in this deal.
Yeah. And first glance, you see that 385, and I think it is a bit much. I mean, I'd have to read more. And I saw like Kevin Pelton of ESPN gave it this trade like a D-. John Hollinger wrote about it, how he was confused by it. I haven't read in depth yet. I'm not really sure what DeRozan's market was. Like, I know he was supposedly talking like the Clippers, but they didn't have much flexibility either. So like, I don't know what they were offering. I'm not sure what else was out there for him. Like, it seems like the Bulls didn't have to give him quite that much. And like, I'm not sure what the Spurs leverage was to like get that first round pick. It is protected. It is down the road, but to get a first and to get Thad, like instead of Lowry, I was hoping that this was going to involve Lowry. I mean, I was hoping Thad was going to stay on the team. Once they made the couple moves yesterday, I was hoping Thad was going to stick around for, depth. He was really good last year. I was thinking if they did get DeRozan that they were going to use Lauri Markkanen to do it. Instead, it was Thad Young, a first-round pick. Getting off Aminu's deal is nice. I know a lot of people wanted to do that. But the first and then a couple seconds and then including that big deal, like, again, in a vacuum, like where DeRozan's at, DeRozan's a very good player still, but he is 30, I think about to be 32 in like a couple days. He doesn't shoot threes. His defense is kind of like whatever. If you look at some of the advanced stats, I know like his teams have a lot of times played better when he's on the bench. So like his on-off net ratings aren't always that great. So when you take all that into account, like giving him that big deal when it doesn't seem like maybe they'd had to give him that much, I do understand why there were some question marks. Like I said, I had them myself. And then giving up another first-round pick when they are already out those 2 first-round picks after the Vucevic trade. So they basically really can't do much with first-round picks until now, like 2027 for right now. So like that, like if you want to go try to make another big trade in the near future, you really can't do that just because you're out all these picks. unless, I mean, maybe you could try to cobble another offer together. So, yeah, again, I think they probably overpaid for him. Maybe this is what was needed to get the deal done. So, like, again, I'm not totally sure what was needed to do it. It seems like a lot, but, I mean, they clearly just had their mindset on doing it, making a big splash. So they overpaid to do it, at least seemingly overpaid to do it. I don't hate it. I've talked myself into it because I think just like the aggressiveness, and they've clearly set out on this path to be much better next season. And they just wanted to show that they could act like a big market, get these big moves, because the Bulls, I mean, just in recent history, just have never made these kind of big moves in free agency. They had to overpay to do it a bit, but they still did it, and they've still made a splash, and they're a very interesting team that should be much better at the very least. Where that goes, like how good they'll actually be, how they can turn themselves into an actual championship contender over the next couple of years, still question marks. This could backfire, but they have at least put themselves in a position where the last few years the rebuild has not been going well. They just really kind of weren't going anywhere. It seemed that they had kind of stagnated. They were done doing this stuff with the rebuild. They went and get more proven players and are trying to win games now. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. How do you see DeRozan and Lavine coexisting, both as primary scorers or being used to being primary scorers?
Right, DeRozan has improved his playmaking a lot. He had career high almost 7 assists per game. So like just another guy who can handle the ball, take some pressure off Zach is nice. Zach is obviously a great 3-point shooter, so I think not having him be on the ball so much and having him sometimes be off the ball, just shooting threes or cutting the basket, and you have another guy who can create for it, I think that could work. With DeRozan off the ball, obviously, since he doesn't shoot threes, we'll see how that works. But there, I guess one good thing that DeRozan will bring to the table is he did take 7 free throws per game. Last season, the Bulls were dead last in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. They only took like 17.5 per game. DeRozan almost reached that like halfway. So because like if you look at the rest of the Bulls guys, like I mean, Zach doesn't get to the line that much for what you would think. Vucevic does not get to the line a lot. Lonzo is very bad at getting to the line. Kobe White doesn't really get to the line. So like even like all these like solid players, they have not really good at just like taking the ball, taking it in the half court and going to the free throw line. Zach can do it sometimes, not the best at selling calls. DeRozan can do that, does that pretty well. Having that kind of option in the half court offense is pretty nice. He can kind of help fill in some of the gaps. He's obviously a good mid-range shooter. He's not the scorer that he once was, but he still almost shot 50% from the field, even despite being such a terrible 3-point shooter. So like he can still score inside the arc and still get to the line. So just gives them another ball handler. They have another solid passer. Lonzo's a great passer. DeRozan's a good passer as well. To add that to Zach, Vucevic is a better passer. They have just more good passers on the team. They still don't have that like top of the line playmaker player, but that really wasn't not like they weren't going to go get Chris Paul. Like they obviously like weren't going to get Kyle Lowry. So like I guess you could argue they did like the next best thing by getting Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan to help with playmaking, just help the offense, because the offense was bad last year. Like as far as the talk is like the Bulls. A lot of people thought like their defense was bad last year. The offense was still worse. So like they needed to improve their offensive talent, and they have done that. And we'll see how it works. It's going to be fascinating.
So a guy I mentioned earlier that I said I was surprised that he hadn't been moved is Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance that he actually sticks around in Chicago, and do the Bulls almost need him as far as size wise? Because it feels like their big man depth is lacking so far.
Right. Yeah. I honestly have just like no idea what they're gonna do with him. I don't know what his market is. Like the Spurs were thought to be a team that were interested, but they went and signed Doug McDermott. They went and signed Zach Collins. They get Thad Young instead of Lowry in this trade. So like otherwise, like, I'm not really sure who's out there interested in Lowry. Like if his market's garbage, like maybe he signs like the qualifying offer on for one season. Like, and if he's back on the qualifying offer, like in general, I'm kind of done with Lowry. I mean, I'd like to move on, try to use his roster spot for somebody else. But in the situation now where they're at, where they do need some size still depth wise, like if he comes back on a 1-year like prove it deal, like I could live with that. Like he's not going to have a huge role. He'd be a backup. Obviously, almost certainly, I don't think he would start over Patrick Williams. He'd probably it'd be him and coming off the bench, along with, I guess, they're expected to bring the second-round pick from last year, Marko Simonovic, over. I feel like they should probably look to add another depth, like rim protector type in free agency. with what they have left to use. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be out here giving if some team actually does offer Markkanen a big deal. I don't know who that would be. I'd still probably not match. I'd like to work out a sign and trade and get something for him. But if he somehow decided, if he just wanted to come back in this 1 year qualifying offer, I could at least live with that.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, he's not Vooch, but they have a similar game where you could use him in the pick and pop. So I kind of like that aspect of it, or the potential there. Patrick Williams is a guy you mentioned. So you think he's day one starter at the 4?
I would guess so. Obviously, he started basically every game last year at the 3, but I think ideally he's your long-term 4, or at least for this season. I would guess. I just think he's probably better than that. I know they gave him a lot of tough assignments as a rookie, and it didn't always work out. I mean, he was 19 years old, super young, but he tried very hard. But I think there were a lot of times when they played him at the 4. I think it's just a better option for him. So I would ideally, even before he played last year, we talked about how we thought that his better position was the 4. So I think that they're going to try to get him there doing that this year.
Absolutely. So what does all this mean for Zach Lavine? So going into this offseason, I mean, he's looking for an extension. He only has 1 year left on his deal with Chicago. So now after all these moves, spending quite a bit of money, Lavine has already said he wants respect in these negotiations for his extension. Are the Bulls going to be able to pull this off, or are they going to have to wait till next year and kind of hope he re-signs as a free agent?
Yeah, he's not getting a deal this year. The only way he was going to get an extension this year is if they use cap space, and with all these other moves, not possible. So yeah, he's going to have to wait, but I think he understood that. I think he realized the situation where if they were going to improve the team in a meaningful way with the type of moves that they made, that he was going to have to wait. And I think that's fine with him. He has the chance now to make more money doing this way. Because if he makes All NBA this season, he can get a supermax contract, which gives him the opportunity to make even more money. So, that could work out really well for him. And with the Bulls, if they're better, he'll have a better chance to make All NBA and get that type of recognition. I think he's honestly fine waiting for that and getting that extra. You get a 5-year deal worth over $200 million. Obviously, there's the injury risk there, but I think he's fine kind of betting on himself, taking another leap. He's gotten better every season in Chicago. So doing that again, and if the team actually wins and he finally actually makes the playoffs, you would think the Bulls would put that big offer on the table for him, and that he would willingly sign it.
Right. So do you think with the moves they've made so far, they've done enough to convince him to do that?
I would hope so. I don't really know what else that they could have done, especially this offseason where going into this. I think the fact that they've added Lonzo Ball, that they've added DeRozan, Alex Caruso. I don't think you can really ask for too much more there for them. So I would hope that he is now excited about the talent that he's playing with, and that he thinks that they can be a playoff team. Now they just got to go do it. Again, there's the theme here just for me, there's no excuses now. You make these moves to go be a good playoff team next season. Now you just got to actually go on the floor and win these damn games.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I definitely share that sentiment with you. So I want to talk to you about Ayo Dosunmu a little bit, because I'm a big Ayo guy. So he falls to the Bulls at the 38th pick in the second round. So the Bulls didn't have a first round pick this year. Going into the draft, I'm sure. I didn't think he would fall that far. Were there any specific guys you thought the Bulls would be targeting at 38, and how surprised were you that Ayo was still there?
Definitely surprised. A lot of the reporting out there was suggesting that Ayo was going to go maybe even in the late teens or early 20s. And then draft night, he just kept falling and falling. I'm not a huge draft guy. As an Illinois guy, obviously I know Ayo. I'm not a huge draft guy. So going into the draft, I didn't really have any a guy I was looking at 38. I thought they would have to trade up if they were gonna have a shot at Ayo. And then he just kept falling. And then I know the conversation on draft night itself when Sharif Cooper was falling as well. It's are they going to take Sharif Cooper? Are they going to take Ayo? Or a guy like Jared Butler was out there as well. And I know a lot of people that I follow, a lot of draft people, thought they should have taken Sharif Cooper just because just the passing, the playmaking, just a special passer, arguably the best passer in the draft. But I know he's also 6 feet tall, if that. Terrible shooter. So, that's why he fell. Sharif Cooper fell to number 48. and the Bulls took Ayo at 38, hometown guy. And obviously I can't be upset about that as an Illinois fan, as an Ayo fan. Getting him, I think, is really nice. I've had question marks about how Ayo will translate to the league. We've seen at times where he struggled against really good defenses, getting like separation in the half court and all that kind of stuff. And we saw him struggle against Loyola in that tournament game. Obviously, super disappointing way to end his college career. But, I mean, he did so much in college. He had an awesome college career overall. So many big shots, so many clutch plays. Fearless. He improved his shooting. He can do a lot of things really well. He's got a 6'10 plus wingspan, so he can see if he can make some hay on defense. Even if he if the offense doesn't necessarily come around, he should be able to make an impact on defense as well, just because, again, he's great size as a guard, as a wing, 6'10 plus wingspan. If he plays hard, plays defense, and then maybe the offensive game does come around, he can be a really nice rotation player. Like, I don't ever expect him to be a star. He's obviously got a lot of players ahead of him in the rotation right now. He'll have to work hard to earn a spot in the rotation if he does it all. But I think there's a chance that he can do it. And he's obviously got a chip on his shoulder. He's motivated after falling to 38. So can't be upset about the pick. And it'll be really exciting to see him in a Bulls uniform.
Right. How do you think he fits onto this roster right now? I don't think he walks in day one and gets much playing time.
Right.
I think it'll just kind of have to be like a rookie earning his minutes type situation, especially with how deep they are at guard.
Yeah. With all the moves they've made, like all their big moves so far have basically been in the backcourt on the wing. You add Lonzo, you add Caruso, you add Demar Derozan. All three of those guys are getting minutes over Ayo to start the season. They still have Kobe. If Kobe's out to start the year, maybe that gives an opportunity to Ayo. They do also have Troy Brown Jr. on the wing. Will probably start ahead of Ayo in the rotation, but we'll see what else they do. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they bring in another wing in free agency here. So again, he will have his work out for him. He's a second-round pick, and second-round pick's not going to just walk in here and do a rotation spot when you're trying to win games. Like, if this was a team still like at the beginning of a rebuild or just whatever in the midst of a rebuild, he might have a better opportunity. The Bulls are trying to win games now, and I don't think they're not going to give a rotation spot to a rookie player second-round pick. But I mean, if he comes out and impresses in training camp and impresses in preseason, maybe he's able to get a spot in the rotation towards the end of it. And then if there are injuries, and there's always injuries every season, maybe he'd be able to step up and step in for guys if they need that for depth.
Absolutely. Do you think there's a chance we see him on the Windy City Bulls this year? Do any G League time? Because I think that's a possibility.
That would make sense. Yeah, I mean, he could always. I wonder what kind of contract he'll get as a second-round pick. Like, will he get a two-way deal? Will he sign they could give him part of, I think, an exception and give him a guaranteed contract if they want. Or if he's on like a non-guaranteed contract. I'm assuming they would like him to make the roster. So like I would guess he'd get a back-end roster spot, but they could always put him on a two-way deal, and he would shift between the big club and the Windy City Bulls. He could obviously go to, I think, the Windy City Bulls anyways, like no matter what. It's always good for those guys to get some actual reps down in the G League. So it wouldn't surprise me to see him get there to get some minutes down there as well, for sure.
Absolutely. I know I'm looking forward to Ayo being in a Bulls uniform. That jersey is going to be a must cop for me.
Yeah.
Or any other moves you think the Bulls are going to make, should make? Any moves you want them to make as free agency kind of rolls on here in the NBA?
I think they do probably need to add another big man. It'd be nice to get a rim protector. There aren't really any other big names out there. They obviously don't have that much that they can really pull anymore. I think they could still have like a mid-level exception. We'll have to see how they work out some of these deals with like Caruso, and then there's the Daniel Tice thing. There's some maneuvering around like cap goofy stuff that could determine what they can still have available. But they still should have the space to like go add another big man, add another wing. I know Danny Green was a name that I kind of liked on the wing. It seems like he might be on the outs in Philadelphia. I'm not sure what he's looking for. I'm sure he can still start. Like, obviously, if the Bulls are bringing in Danny Green, he wouldn't have a starting spot over DeMar DeRozan or Lonzo Ball. I'm assuming he would not. But he'd be a great option to have off the bench. He's a veteran. He's a champion. Can still shoot. Can still defend. If you're looking in the front court, I know like Kem Birch, who was with the Raptors, is a name that's been throwing about. There's not that many great options there. You can find cheap big men all over the place. Like, I don't have a great list of them, but if they can find, I know Hassan Whiteside just got signed by I think the Jazz.
Jazz, yeah.
That is not a name I probably would have said yes to, but I guess like rim protector that would have been for really cheap. I guess that could have been an option. But ideally, and like DeMarcus Cousins is out there too. But ideally, if you can bring in one more big man, ideally a rim protector, just because they really don't have much rim protection on the team right now. That's not really Vooch's thing. Patrick Williams is decent for what at the size he is, but like not really. Obviously, if they kept Lowry around, like he's not a rim protector at all. I don't know about this Simonovic character, but I would guess he is not either. So they could definitely use that type of rim protection on defense. And then again, another wing of some sort, just for the depth. The Bulls have been so thin on the wings in recent years. So it would just be really nice to have a versatile, be able to just run different types of lineups, whether it's big lineups, whether it's small lineups. So we'll see. Like they have a few different avenues to improve here still. Again, possibly a mid-level exception, a biannual exception. We'll see if they can turn Lowry into something else or if they bring him back. So still some moves to make for sure. And as they basically overhaul this entire roster from the last couple of years. Yeah. It's nice. It was something that we've talked about for a while. They need to just really just turn this whole thing over. And basically from the old regime, it's basically just Zach is left, Kobe's left, Lowry is hanging in limbo here. And that's basically about it, I think. Almost everybody else has kind of been turned over in the last couple of years. And I think that's what needed to happen. They were going nowhere. So the roster is obviously a lot more talented now with proven players.
Right. I mean, a guy that you didn't mention who's eligible for the max or whatever, Cristiano Felicio, bring him back to Chicago. No, this has been awesome, man. So before we go, I'm going to ask you, give me a record prediction for the Bulls, and then what seed you think they're going to grab next year.
I was thinking about this earlier. The number I was coming around like for an over-under was like 47 to 48. I could see maybe getting to 50, but something like 48 and 34 I think would be fair. You could tell, you could talk me into them being even better than that, but so then looking at seed wise, I mean the Nets are going to be better, the Bucks will probably be better, Sixers will still probably be pretty dang good. We'll see what happens with Ben Simmons, but with Embiid there, and they still have a lot of talent. So I think you're looking at that probably as your top three again. Maybe the Sixers fall apart. I don't know. The Heat will be very good. They get Lowry. They've had a really nice offseason. The Celtics are right there. The Pacers should be better. Who am I missing? Who the heck else is in the East? I mean, the East is pretty solid. The Hawks,
Atlanta,
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, right.
We'll see what the Knicks do if they can bounce back again. But I kind of think the Bulls could possibly be better than those teams. I don't think I could predict top four. That might be a big much. But let me give them like a nice 5 or 6 seed. I think they can. My Bulls right now are just getting top 6 and not being in that play-in tournament. So give me the 5 or 6 seed. Obviously, I think it'd be nicer to get in that 4 or 5 matchup. I think give them a real good chance of winning a series. I think if they played like the Bucks or the Nets in the first round, I think they would probably lose. Almost anybody else, I think you could probably put them up against them, and I could see them maybe winning a series. And maybe they get lucky and win a couple. I don't think that would happen. I'm not expecting that, but my expectations firmly are right now to get in that top 6, even with this improved Eastern Conference. Get in the top 6, and then maybe win at least one playoff series.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny you said like the 5 to 6 range and top 4. I did a show earlier today, and I said they're anywhere. Like, I mean, I think they're as good as like 4th, as low as probably like 6 or 7. So similar range here. And then I think you have to be just excited if you're a Bulls fan if we get anything 5 or up, any seed 5 or up, because that's exactly, you knocked it on the head. So can you give me a draft grade, or not a draft grade? I'm sorry, a free agency grade so far for the Bulls and the moves they have made?
Let's see. I'll probably give them an A-. Like I said, just because of the DeRozan stuff, I think that takes them down from being an A+. Like I said, I saw Kevin Pelton of ESPN gave this a D-. The DeRozan one a D-. But I think all in tandem, going from what the Bulls had to what they have now, I just don't see how you can give them like lower than that. So like I will give them an A-. They get docked a little bit for the money they gave DeRozan and having to give up that first round pick, but overall, the fact that they were able to just get these guys to come here, to get them to sign. The Bulls have not been like a free agent destination in recent years. So to be able to get all these guys in these first couple days and turn this roster over from that kind of mediocre, whatever it was, in the last couple of years to what they have now. They should be a lot better. I'll give them an A-. That's might be a little biased, but I've talked myself into this and seeing red, so we'll give them an A-.
Seeing red, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that grade. Do you think like with just like how quick the Lonzo deal like was made, like, or at least announced, like the perception on Chicago has kind of changed, like it will become a bigger hotbed for free agents maybe in the future?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, and especially like Lonzo's a Clutch Sports guy, so I think like that's kind of nice to have that Clutch Sports like just in your corner. And clearly, it seemed like Lonzo really wanted to come to the Bulls. Like I was wondering, like if the Pelicans didn't get Kyle Lowry, like would they maybe match on Lonzo? It sure seems like Lonzo just really wanted to come to the Bulls. The Pelicans, whatever, they made the deal to make it happen, and it worked out. So I think that to make that deal, right away, Lonzo, one of the better young players on the market. To just be in on that right away, get that done, and then to get DeRozan as well, another big name the next day. It is just a nice sign for the perception of the franchise. I know like Mark Eversley has a guy who supposedly has all these great relationships in the NBA. I think he was helpful in getting DeRozan here. AK clearly after the quiet last offseason, clearly is now getting super aggressive with his moves. Some may argue that he is maybe being a little too aggressive. Maybe you can see it as panic, but he's just trying to make the team better. And I don't think he's definitely not going to be satisfied. Like I don't think it's a situation where like maybe if this team does flame out, or if they do seem like they're a team that maybe tops out as like a 5-6 seed and they can't win more than like a series, or like can't even win a series at all. Like it seems like he's a guy who won't hesitate to flip over the roster again and turn maybe one or two of these guys, try to get an even better player and just figure out a way to get to that next level, because they've been at a very low level for 4 years now since trading Jimmy. They need to get to a level where they're more respectable now, and then they have to figure out a way to get then to that very next level and that championship contender level. So they've taken one big step here forward, and then we'll have to see if they can take that next step after that. I guess they got to win the games first, and then we'll see, hopefully, if they can get into that next year after that in the next couple of years.
Absolutely, man. So Bulls are back. It's absolutely confirmed. Before I let you go, man, just let everybody know like where they can find your writings, your podcast, you can follow you on social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Twitter at Bulls_J. And then for all my work, I'm at Clutch Points. For Bull stuff, Forbes wrote something up there today about the DeRozan deal. Also, SB Nation's bloggable. And then the podcast, Cash Considerations, A Shy Wolves podcast, me and my co-host, Ricky O'Donnell. We just recorded something a few hours ago on this DeRozan thing, so that'll be up in our feed pretty soon here tonight. And I think that's about it. So, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Ricky O'Donnell, the best head coach in Western Illinois basketball history.
That's right. Legend.
All right. Legendary, man. Thank you so good. Neck up, man. So thank you so much for joining me, man. This was awesome. I love talking Bulls, love talking hoop, and couldn't think of anybody better to talk Bulls than you, man. So this has been the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 70. Thank you so much to Jason Patt for joining us. You can find this wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio. Just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It's got all of our links to listen. YouTube.com/thebrewparty. You can find us there. Or we're on Twitter and Instagram at The Brew Party, or we're on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast. Thanks again to everybody for listening, for tuning in, and thank you to Jason for joining me. We're out of here.